Welcome back. Today's video is going to be very exciting for coin collectors and history lovers. We are exploring the top 5 most valuable United Kingdom sixpence coins that collectors around the world are searching for. The British sixpence is one of the most iconic coins in the history of the United Kingdom. First introduced in 1956 during the reign of Queen Elizabeth, the sixpence remained in circulation for more than 4 centuries. These small silver coins were used in everyday transactions, but today some rare versions are worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their year, mint mark, rarity, and condition. Let's get started. First up, the 1958 United Kingdom sixpence, a historic pre-decimal coin that many collectors still search for today. Although it may look like a small and ordinary coin, its history and collector demand make it an interesting piece in the numismatic market. We'll discuss its history, its unique features, how rare it is in circulated or damaged condition, and most importantly, its current auction market value in US dollars. If you enjoy coin collecting or want to know whether the coins in your pocket could be valuable, make sure to watch until the end. The British sixpence has a long and rich history that dates back to the year 1551 during the reign of King Edward VI. For centuries, this coin played an important role in everyday British transactions and became one of the most recognizable denominations in the country. The sixpence continued to be minted through many monarchs and remained in circulation until the United Kingdom adopted the decimal currency system in 1971. The 1958 sixpence belongs to the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign and was part of the pre-decimal currency system where £1 equalled 20 shillings and 1 shilling equalled 12 pence. A sixpence was therefore worth half a shilling or 6 old pennies. By the time this coin was minted, Britain had already stopped using silver in sixpence coins, and the metal composition had changed to cupronickel. Despite the metal change, the coin remained extremely popular and widely used in everyday commerce. The 1958 sixpence has several distinctive features that make it recognizable to collectors. On the obverse side of the coin, you will find the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II facing to the right. Around the portrait is the Latin inscription that translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. The reverse side of the coin features a beautiful floral design consisting of a crowned royal cipher surrounded by traditional British plants such as the rose, thistle, shamrock, and leek. These symbols represent the unity of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. In terms of specifications, the coin weighs approximately 2.83 grams, has a diameter of about 19 millimeters, and is made from a durable cupronickel alloy. These physical characteristics help the coin withstand heavy circulation during the late 1950s and 1960s. When discussing rarity, the 1958 sixpence is not considered an extremely rare coin. Historical records indicate that more than 123 million coins were produced in 1958, which means it was widely circulated throughout the United Kingdom. Because of this large mintage, many examples of the coin still exist today. However, rarity in the coin collecting world does not depend only on mintage numbers. Condition plays a huge role in determining value. A coin that has been heavily circulated, scratched, or damaged will usually be worth much less than one that remains in excellent condition. Collectors often look for coins with clear details, minimal wear, and original surfaces. Even though a damaged or worn 1958 sixpence may not be extremely valuable, it can still hold interest for beginners building a collection of British pre-decimal coins. Now let's talk about the value. In fine or circulated condition, the 1958 sixpence typically sells for only a small amount because it is relatively common. Many examples in circulated condition can sell for around 50 pence to £1, which equals roughly 60 cents to $1.30 US dollars depending on exchange rates. If the coin is in uncirculated or mint condition, the price can increase slightly. Some price guides estimate values around £2 to £3, or roughly $3 to $4 US dollars for well-preserved examples. Although these values may seem modest, collectors still enjoy these coins because of their historical significance and connection to Britain's pre-decimal currency system. Rare mint errors or coins in exceptional condition could sometimes sell for more at specialized auctions. If you believe you have a 1958 sixpence in your collection, here are a few tips to help determine its value. First, examine the condition carefully. Look at the details in the Queen's portrait and the floral design on the reverse side. The sharper and clearer the design, the higher the potential value. Second, avoid cleaning the coin. Many beginners think cleaning improves the appearance, but in reality it can reduce collector value significantly. Natural aging and patina are often preferred by serious numismatists. Third, consider storing your coins in protective holders or albums to prevent further wear. Proper storage can preserve the coin's condition and make it easier to sell in the future. In conclusion, the 1958 United Kingdom sixpence is a charming piece of British monetary history. While it may not be one of the rarest coins ever minted, it represents an important era before the United Kingdom switched to decimal currency. With a mintage of over 100 million coins, Many examples still exist today, but well-preserved specimens remain desirable for collectors. Even if its market value in fine condition is relatively modest, the historical story behind the coin and its role in everyday life during the 1950s make it a fascinating collectible. Next up, the 1954 United Kingdom Sixpence. For many collectors, the sixpence is more than just an old coin. It represents an important part of British monetary history and the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. In this video, we'll explore the history of the 1954 sixpence, its design and unique features, how rare it really is, and most importantly, how much it could be worth today in the collector's market. If you have one of these coins in your collection or even tucked away in an old drawer, you might be curious whether it has any real value. So let's dive into the story behind the 1954 British sixpence and discover its true market potential. The sixpence was a long-standing denomination in British currency, originally introduced in the 16th century during the reign of King Edward VI. It remained part of everyday transactions in the United Kingdom for centuries until the decimalisation of British currency in 1971. The 1954 sixpence was issued during the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, shortly after her coronation in 1953, making it one of the early coins to feature her portrait. By this time, the composition of the coin had already changed. Before 1947, British sixpences contained silver, but after World War II the Royal Mint switched to cupronickel, a more economical metal alloy. The 1954 sixpence continued this new composition. Around 105 million coins were minted in 1954, meaning the coin was widely circulated throughout the United Kingdom. Because of this large mintage, the coin is generally considered common, though its value can increase significantly depending on its condition and collector demand. The design of the 1954 sixpence is both simple and symbolic. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll find the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, facing to the right. The inscription surrounding her portrait reads Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. The reverse design features a beautiful arrangement of floral emblems representing the nations that form the United Kingdom. These include the Tudor rose for England, the thistle for Scotland, the shamrock for Ireland, and the leek for Wales. These symbols are arranged in a cross pattern, creating a distinctive and elegant design. The coin itself has a diameter of about 19 millimeters, weighs approximately 2.83 grams, and has a reeded edge. Despite being a small coin, the intricate design details make it visually appealing and popular among collectors who enjoy classic British coinage. Although millions of 1954 sixpence coins were produced, the real factor that determines rarity is condition. Coins that circulated heavily often became worn, scratched, or damaged over the decades. As a result, coins in damaged or heavily circulated condition are extremely common and usually attract minimal collector interest. However, collectors still appreciate these coins because they represent a historical period and are often used to complete date collections of British pre-decimal coinage. Even coins with noticeable wear can still hold some modest value, especially if the date and main design elements remain visible. Collectors typically categorize coins using grading terms such as fine, very fine, extremely fine, and uncirculated. A coin graded very fine shows moderate wear but still retains clear details in the portrait and lettering. This grade is often considered attractive to collectors because it balances affordability with visible detail. When it comes to value, the 1954 sixpence is not considered a rare coin due to its high mintage. However, condition can still influence its market price. According to numismatic value guides, a typical 1954 British sixpence can range from about 5 pence in very worn condition to around £4 or more in uncirculated condition. If we convert that into US dollars, the approximate values are damaged or heavily circulated, about 5 cents to 20 cents fine condition, around 30 cents to 50 cents very fine condition, roughly 60 cents to $1.20 extremely fine condition, about $1.50 to $3 uncirculated examples, can reach $5 or more, depending on eye appeal and demand. Although these prices may seem small, collectors often buy these coins in sets or collections, and pristine examples can sometimes sell for higher prices in specialized auctions or graded slabs. If you are interested in collecting British sixpence coins, there are several tips to keep in mind. First, always check the condition of the coin, because grading plays a major role in determining value. Coins with sharp details, minimal scratches, and clear lettering are always more desirable. Avoid cleaning your coins. Many beginners make the mistake of polishing or cleaning old coins to make them look shiny. Unfortunately, this can actually reduce their collector value because it damages the original surface. Consider collecting a full series of sixpence coins from different years or monarchs. Completing a date run from the reign of Queen Elizabeth II can be an enjoyable and affordable way to build a meaningful coin collection. If you believe you have a high-grade example, it might be worth having it professionally graded by a coin grading service, which can increase its appeal and authenticity in the market. In conclusion, the 1954 United Kingdom sixpence may not be one of the rarest coins in British numismatic history, but it still holds historical significance and collector interest. Issued during the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, the coin represents a transitional era in British currency when silver coins were replaced with cupronickel. While a typical example in very fine condition may only be worth around $1 or so, the coin's historical charm and elegant design make it a favorite among collectors of British pre-decimal coins. Whether you find one in an old coin jar, inherit it from family, or purchase it as part of a collection, the 1954 sixpence is a small but fascinating piece of history. Next up, the 1955 United Kingdom sixpence. At first glance, this small coin may look ordinary, especially when found in circulated condition. However, many collectors are curious about its rarity, historical importance, and potential auction value in dollars. In today's video, we'll take a close look at the history behind this coin, its unique features, how rare it really is in circulated or damaged condition, and what collectors are willing to pay for it today. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories behind old coins, make sure to watch until the end. The sixpence has a long and fascinating history in British currency. The denomination was first introduced in 1551 during the reign of King Edward VI, and it remained part of everyday British money for more than 4 centuries. By the time the 1955 sixpence was minted, the coin was already a familiar and widely used part of daily life in the United Kingdom. This particular coin was issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II, who had ascended to the throne just a few years earlier in 1952. The early years of her reign saw several new coin designs introduced to reflect the new monarch. The 1955 sixpence was produced in large numbers at the Royal Mint in London. In fact, the mintage for this year reached approximately 109,929,554 coins, meaning millions entered circulation across Britain. Although this number may sound huge, decades of circulation, loss, and melting have reduced the number of surviving examples today, especially those in better condition. The 1955 sixpence has several interesting design elements that make it instantly recognizable to collectors. On the front, or obverse side, the coin features a youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II facing to the right. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin inscription Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. The reverse side of the coin displays a beautifully symbolic design made up of 4 floral emblems representing the nations of the United Kingdom. These include the Tudor rose for England, the leek for Wales, the thistle for Scotland, and the shamrock for Ireland. The word sixpence appears prominently along with the date 1955. The coin itself is relatively small, measuring about 19 millimeters in diameter and weighing approximately 2.83 grams, and it is made from cupronickel metal, a durable alloy that replaced silver in British circulating coins after 1947. These design features represent unity across the United Kingdom and make the sixpence a historically meaningful piece. When it comes to rarity, the 1955 sixpence is generally considered a common date coin because of its high mintage. Millions were produced, and many examples still exist today. However, collectors still seek these coins for historical collections of British currency or for completing Queen Elizabeth II coin sets in circulated or damaged condition. The coin typically shows heavy wear. The portrait may appear faded, and the design details on the reverse might be partially worn away. Because of this, coins in poor condition are usually less valuable to serious collectors. However, even worn examples can still hold value as collectible pieces of history. Many collectors enjoy obtaining circulated coins because they show the marks of time and everyday use. Each scratch and worn detail tells a story about how the coin traveled through decades of British commerce. Now let's talk about what most people want to know: how much is a 1955 UK sixpence actually worth today? In general, the value depends heavily on the coin's condition. According to price guides, a typical circulated example can be worth between about 5 pence and 40 pence, depending on its level of wear. Converted to US dollars, that's roughly 6 cents to 50 cents for a heavily circulated coin. Coins in extremely fine or uncirculated condition can reach £1 to £3 or more, which equals about $1.25 to $4 in today's market. While these values may seem small, certain examples with exceptional preservation or grading certification can sometimes sell for slightly higher prices in online auctions. But overall, the 1955 sixpence is valued more for its historical interest than for high monetary worth. If you're interested in collecting sixpence coins or evaluating your own 1955 example, here are a few helpful tips. First, always check the coin's condition carefully. Coins with clear details, minimal scratches, and strong lettering are generally more desirable to collectors. Second, look for coins that have not been cleaned. Cleaning can damage the original surface and reduce the collector value significantly. Third, Consider storing your coins in protective holders or coin albums to prevent further wear and environmental damage. Proper storage helps preserve the coin's condition over time. Finally, remember that while some coins may not be extremely valuable today, they can still be meaningful historical artifacts and enjoyable additions to a collection. To sum up, the United Kingdom 1955 sixpence is a fascinating piece of mid-20th century British coinage. Although it was produced in large numbers and is not considered particularly rare, it remains an important part of the early coinage of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Even in circulated condition, this coin tells a story of Britain's economic history and everyday life during the 1950s. While its auction value in dollars may only be a few cents to a few dollars, its historical charm and connection to centuries of British currency make it a collectible piece worth appreciating. Next up, the 1961 United Kingdom sixpence. At first glance, this small coin may appear common, especially when it is dirty or heavily circulated. However, collectors still search for these pieces because they represent an important era of British history. In today's video, we will discuss the history of the coin, its unique features, its rarity in worn condition, and most importantly how much a 1961 sixpence could be worth today in the auction market. Stay with us until the end because you might discover that even a worn coin can still hold collector interest. The 1961 sixpence belongs to the pre-decimal currency system of the United Kingdom, a monetary system used for centuries before Britain switched to decimal currency in 1971. The sixpence was worth 6 old pennies, which was 1/40th of a British pound. This coin was widely used in everyday transactions and remained part of British culture for generations. During this time, the British throne was held by Queen Elizabeth II, whose portrait appears on the obverse side of the coin. The design used on the 1961 issue was created by artist Mary Gillick and shows a young portrait of the Queen facing to the right. Interestingly, sixpence coins were originally made of silver, but by the late 1940s the Royal Mint switched to a cupro-nickel composition due to the rising cost of precious metals. As a result, the 1961 sixpence is made from copper and nickel rather than silver. Even though it lacks silver value, its historical connection to Britain's old currency system makes it a nostalgic collectible today. The Royal Mint produced a very large number of these coins in 1961, approximately 115 million pieces, meaning it was not considered rare when first released into circulation. Although it is a small coin, the 1961 sixpence has several beautiful design details that collectors appreciate. The obverse side features the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. The reverse design is particularly symbolic. It shows 4 plant emblems representing the nations that form the United Kingdom. These include the Tudor rose for England, the leek for Wales, the thistle for Scotland, and the shamrock for Ireland. The denomination sixpence and the year 1961 appear below the design. The coin measures about 19 mm in diameter and weighs around 2.83 grams, with a reeded edge. These specifications were standard for sixpence coins produced during the late 1950s and early 1960s. When discussing the value of any coin, condition plays a very important role. Coins are graded from poor condition to mint state. A coin described as dirty condition usually means it has heavy circulation wear, discoloration, or dirt accumulation. Because the 1961 sixpence had such a large mintage, most examples that appear today are circulated pieces. This means a dirty or heavily worn coin is generally common. However, collectors still purchase them for historical sets, beginner coin collections, or nostalgic reasons, and in some cases, collectors may still be interested in a dirty coin if it has unusual characteristics such as minting errors, misstrikes, or unusual toning. These rare variations can increase the value dramatically compared to an ordinary circulated piece. Now let's talk about the question most viewers are curious about: how much is a 1961 sixpence worth today? According to coin value guides, a heavily circulated or dirty example is usually worth only a small amount. In British currency, a typical worn coin may sell for around 5 pence to 50 pence depending on condition. Converted to US dollars, this equals roughly 10 cents to 60 cents in the collector's market. However, coins in much better condition can be worth more. For example, uncirculated pieces may reach around £3 or about $3 to $4 in collector markets at tea auctions. The price can sometimes increase slightly if the coin is part of a complete set or if collectors are competing for a high-quality example. But in general, the 1961 sixpence remains a modestly priced collectible unless it has rare errors or exceptional condition. If you happen to find a 1961 sixpence in your collection, there are several things you should check before deciding its value. First, examine the coin carefully under good lighting. Look for unusual features such as double strikes, off-center designs, or minting mistakes. Second, avoid cleaning the coin. Many beginners think cleaning a coin will increase its value, but in reality it can damage the surface and reduce collector interest. Third, consider storing your coin in a protective holder or coin flip. Proper storage prevents further wear and helps preserve the coin for future collectors. Finally, if you believe your coin may be valuable or unusual, it can be helpful to consult a professional coin dealer or grading service. To conclude, the 1961 United Kingdom sixpence may not be one of the rarest coins in British history, but it still holds historical significance as part of the country's pre-decimal currency system. Even though millions were produced, the coin represents a fascinating era of everyday British life and the early years of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. In dirty or heavily circulated condition, the coin usually sells for only a few cents to under $1. However, cleaner examples, mint state coins, or rare mint errors can attract more attention from collectors and achieve higher prices at auctions. Next up, the 1956 United Kingdom sixpence. This small but historic coin was once part of everyday British currency, but today it has become a collectible piece valued by coin enthusiasts around the world. In this video, we will take a closer look at the history, unique features, rarity, and the auction market value of the 1956 sixpence in good circulated condition, with prices explained in US dollars. If you enjoy discovering hidden treasures in old coins, make sure you watch until the end because you might have one of these coins sitting unnoticed in your collection. The sixpence was an important part of British currency for centuries. Originally introduced in 1551 during the reign of King Edward VI, the denomination continued to be produced for hundreds of years and became a familiar coin in daily life across the United Kingdom. The 1956 version of the sixpence belongs to the early coinage of Queen Elizabeth II, who had recently ascended the throne in 1952. By the time the 1956 coin was minted, the sixpence was already a widely used coin in Britain, commonly referred to as a tanner. These coins circulated heavily until the UK switched to decimal currency in 1971. After decimalisation, the sixpence was eventually demonetised in 1980, meaning it could no longer be used as legal tender. However, collectors continue to preserve and trade these coins because they represent a fascinating era in British monetary history. The 1956 sixpence has several distinctive features that make it recognisable to collectors. The coin is made from cupronickel, a durable metal mixture that replaced silver in British coins after 1946. It weighs approximately 2.83 grams and has a diameter of about 90 millimeters, making it a small but sturdy coin. On the front of the coin, known as the obverse, you will see the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by artist Mary Gillick. The Queen's portrait is surrounded by an inscription identifying her as the monarch. On the reverse side, the coin features a beautiful design showing the floral emblems of the four nations of the United Kingdom: the rose for England, the thistle for Scotland, the shamrock for Ireland, and the leek for Wales. This symbolic design reflects unity across the United Kingdom and gives the coin historical and cultural importance. When discussing rarity, the 1956 sixpence is not considered extremely rare because the Royal Mint produced a very large number of them. In fact, the total mintage for this year was about 109,841,555 coins, meaning millions entered circulation across the UK. However, rarity in coin collecting is not determined only by mintage numbers. Condition also plays a very important role. Many of these coins circulated for years, which means they became worn, scratched, or damaged over time. Because of this heavy use, high-grade examples are harder to find today. Collectors still buy coins in damaged or well-circulated condition because they are affordable and historically interesting. While such coins may not reach extremely high prices, they still hold collector value and can be a good starting point for beginners building a British coin collection. Now let's talk about the most exciting part: the market value. The price of a 1956 sixpence depends heavily on its condition and quality. In good or very good circulated condition, the coin typically sells for around £1, which is approximately $1.20 to $1.50 USD in today's market. Coins in fine condition may reach about £3, around $3.50 to $4, while better preserved very fine examples can be worth around £5 or roughly $6 USD. If a collector finds a coin in extremely fine or near uncirculated condition, the price can rise to around £8 to £15, or roughly $10 to $18. And in rare cases, proof versions of the coin specially struck for collectors have sold for hundreds or even over $1,500 depending on quality and certification. So, while a typical circulated 1956 sixpence is not extremely valuable, certain high-grade examples can still attract serious attention in auctions. If you own a 1956 sixpence or are thinking about collecting British coins, here are a few helpful tips. First, always examine the coin's condition carefully. Look for sharp details in the Queen's portrait and the floral design on the reverse side. The clearer these details appear, the higher the coin's potential value. Second, check for unusual variations or minting errors. Coins with errors such as double strikes, off-center designs, or other unusual features can sometimes sell for significantly higher prices because collectors love rare varieties. Third, consider storing your coin properly. Keeping it in a protective holder or coin capsule will prevent scratches, corrosion, and further damage. Proper storage helps preserve the coin's value over time. Finally, when buying or selling coins, always compare recent auction results or consult professional coin dealers. This will give you a realistic understanding of the coin's true market value. In conclusion, the 1956 United Kingdom sixpence may look like a simple old coin, but it carries a rich history connected to the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II and the traditional British monetary system. Although millions of these coins were produced, they still hold charm and interest for collectors around the world and in good circulated condition. The coin is generally worth only a few dollars, but higher-grade examples or special proof versions can be significantly more valuable. For collectors, the real appeal of the 1956 sixpence lies not only in its price but also in its connection to British history and culture. If you enjoyed learning about this coin, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other coin enthusiasts. And who knows, the next time you look through an old coin collection, you might discover a hidden treasure waiting to be identified.